We're going to see how to generate a report like this in Jenkins. This is for a PyTest framework. So if you have automation running in a Jenkins CI/CD, generating a report and displaying it is one of the important things you need to do, because the first thing you do in the morning is go check the results of the last run. And this is just one of them. Of course, there's a lot of different kinds of reports or different kinds of CI/CD. But in this video, we're going to look at PyTest and Jenkins, all right? So this is an example that I've created already. We're going to get a chart to show up like this. Or also we're going to get something like this to show up where you can dive deeper into the result of the test. So I have Jenkins here, just a very simple Jenkins. I'm running locally with Docker, like it's part of my Jenkins course. And I recently was having a tutorial in my bootcamp and stuff. So I created this. So this Jenkins one is what I have, that the example I showed you. Now I have this other job that I've created. And let's go look at the configuration. Now, what I'm running here is this framework, this PyTest automation demo framework. It's a public repository. It's going to be in the description. I've been creating a bunch of PyTest related videos, and I use this framework as an example. So make sure you check out the playlist. It is in the description. So you can check this out and you can really play with it. You can run the automation. You can run it in Jenkins. You can run it in any other CI/CD, even in GitHub Actions. So make sure you play around and you will be able to generate reports after you see this video. So I kept it very simple. We're just checking out the coding in Jenkins. We're checking out the main branch, and we're checking it out into a folder called automation. And then we have our credentials set. Those are not really real because this is just a dummy framework. It actually runs tests, but they're not real tests. It does open browsers for the front end, but it does really like validate anything, okay? So here we have the actual most important part of the framework, right? We have Jenkins and we have the configuration here. All we're doing is we're going to cd into the automation folder where we check out the code. We're going to create a virtual environment, activate the virtual environment, install the dependencies, and run our test. In this case, I'm running only stuff in the backend. So, and there is no post build action. That's where we're going to add the report. So I'm just going to build it for now just to see if the tests are actually running and it is passing. It doesn't matter if it's passing or not, but the fact that it's set up correctly. So that is Jenkins knowledge, right? So far, what I talked about has nothing to do with generating reports. It has to do with Jenkins, and it has to do with knowing how to run this framework, right? There's documentation here, a lot of documentation here, and you basically need a virtual environment. You install the dependencies and you run the tests. The tests are in this test folder, and there is a backend folder, a front end folder. All the tests in the front end folder open browser, in the backend they don't. So that's what we have here. So we can see the job ran successfully. Everything is good to go. But if we go here, there is no report. If we go to the job itself or the build itself, there is no test results. Now let's change that. That's what we're going to do. So let's go to configure. And what we're going to do is we're going to export or actually create an output, which is a JUnit report. So JUnit is an XML report that is universally known. A lot of tools know how to consume JUnit, right? So most frameworks will output a JUnit XML. So it's just a basic XML. It has formats. So there are a bunch of other tools out there that know how to read an XML, JUnit XML, because it's just so common. So even if you want to build a report that is customized your way, your color, your logo, your own design, the best thing to do is to output a JUnit, then it's an XML. So you're going to parse it and create your own design. You can do that. So that's what Jenkins is doing, is parsing the JUnit XML report, which is a universal one. The way you do that, you can always Google it. In fact, let me show you. If you just do PyTest JUnit XML and you look at like managing PyTest output, you can go there and you just search for JUnit on the page. You will find this flag, JUnit XML/paths. In fact, I just realized there is a dash here, but I believe it works without the dash too, unless they change something. So we're going to come here and we're going to look at our command. This is our PyTest command. We're going to add JUnit XML paths, right? Well, JUnit XML, and we're going to give it a path. Let's say we're going to do output / my JUnit report.xml. So now that's one thing that's just going to generate it. Let's just save that and build it. We're still not going to see any chart, but in our workspace, we are going to see it generated. So if we go to workspace and we go to automation, because that's the folder we're in, we're going to see output and we're going to see the file generated. It's just a basic XML. Okay. So now we are generating it, but we got to tell Jenkins to actually create that chart and create the test results. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to configure again, and that is going to be part of the post build actions. So once the build is finished, Jenkins, we're going to tell Jenkins what to do. A lot of times we tell it to send an email, to trigger another job if you're doing a pipeline, or publish a report. So here we're going to go to post build actions. Inside of post build actions, we have a bunch of options. Those options, they come from plugins. So if you install additional plugin to Jenkins, you're going to get more options here. Those options come from the original plugins. When you install Jenkins the first time, it will ask you, hey, do you want to install recommended plugins or do you want to install custom ones? So you always just click on recommended. So part of that recommended, they will install a bunch of things, and one of them is publish JUnit test report. So we're going to click on publish JUnit test report. And in that case, the first field here, so there's a lot of fields here. I'm just going to skip that because that's not really important. You can explore that. I want to focus on this video on generating the report. So here is saying, hey, tell us where the XML is. You need to give it the path. So we know the path is going to be here. This is the output here, but this is relative to the workspace. Okay, it's relative to the workspace. So if I was to highlight here, it's going to just give me, if I basically remove focus from that, it's going to give me an error saying, hey, I can't find this XML. We know it exists because we already run it once. So the problem is we already CD into this automation framework, into this automation folder. That's very important for you to notice. We first CD into this automation folder. So when we generate the report, we are generating it in this automation report. It's not in the workspace. So here we could have said back one out like that. If we do it this way, the report gets generated in the workspace. So if we just do it this way, it will find it. But we're not generating it in the workspace. We are generating it in the automation folder. So we're going to give it the automation folder. We're going to give it the full path relative to the workspace. So that's the most important part. Out of everything we do here, the most difficult thing is getting the paths correct. You have to really pay attention to it. So if I just move focus out of there, the error goes away. We don't really have to change anything here. We're going to just click on save, and we're just going to build. And when we build this, this is going to generate the chart. This is only one run, so it's going to have one thing. We're going to run it a few times. So if we refresh, there's only like one little dot here, right? Because there's just one run, build number 3. So we're going to run it a couple of times so we can see it show up, and it will be filled in. So we have build number 4. This and as you can see, now we have 2 builds, so it's all green. We're going to build one more time, and we're going to see 14 tests are passing. Okay. Now let's say we're adding more tests to it. So for this case, since we don't want to write a new test, I'm just going to run everything front end and back end. So instead of in the configuration, instead of running stuff that is in the back end, I'm just going to run it everything that's inside of the test folder. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to run. Now, a lot of them are going to fail because in this container, I did not set up the browsers, right? I just created a very simple Jenkins container, Jenkins Docker container, the most basic one, without customizing it. So there's no browsers, there's no Firefox, there's no Chrome. So all the front-end tests are going to fail. So if we look at this, we're going to see that, I'm going to scroll all the way down. We're going to see that 34 passed because they're not real tests, 2 skipped, 1 X failed, 6 errors. Let's consider the errors as failure, even though they're not really failures. Now you can see all of a sudden it went from 14 to 43 total tests, and the red one shows you how many are failing, and the blue one is basically the skipped ones, and the green is how many passed. So we're going to run it one more time so the chart looks a little bit different. I'm going to run it a couple of times. So let's see, I got build number 6, number 7, and number 8. And as you can see, the chart showed up. So that's really all we got to do. We just have to set it up so it would. 2 things you have to do. That your tests have to output XML, JUnit XML, and also your Jenkins have to publish that. So we're going to configure, right? As a summary, this is basically everything we just did. We're going to, in our test command that we're going to execute, we're going to pass in this JUnit XML. That is a PyTest built-in thing. PyTest provided that for us. That's part of the framework. Then we're going to output into a file. Then we're going to go to this post build actions, and we're going to say publish JUnit test results. And we're going to give it the paths of where we output that XML relative to the workspace. And that's it, okay? So that's all you need to do. And one other thing is, we see the chart, but we also, if we click on the job itself or the build itself, there is this test result. That just showed up. We can click that, and we can just dive right into each of the tests. There's a breakdown, like a matrix, and you can dive into each test. If you basically, you can see what the logs were, what was the errors, and things like that. Another thing is right in the homepage, also in the homepage of the job, without going to the build, you also see the test results. I will show you test results for the most recent execution or the most recent build. So that is how you add reports into Jenkins for PyTest. So I'll create another one for Allure report, which is a different, much fancier report. So click on one of the cards on here on the screen somewhere, or in the description. I'll make sure to add it once I create that video. It's going to be pretty much after this about Allure report, right? So if you're first time here on my channel, make sure you subscribe. So I create content. All I do is create content related to QA automation, software testing, and coding, and tips and things like that. Check out my website, supersqa.com, where I teach QA automation. I do one-on-one coaching, and I have a membership where you can get access to all my courses and things like that. Basically, if you want to just upskill and grow in your career, become an SDET or QA automation engineer, make sure you check me out. Other than that, check out these other videos.